Well, you know why the way you know why the guild, the Union Guild is there. It's because they need to be established to
take all the jobs for the Numenorians, of course.
That's exactly right.
They're preparing to seize the jobs for the Numenorians.
All right, we did it. We got through episode 2.
I feel like I'm running a marathon with each of these.
Yeah, I watched episode 2 after we talked about episode 1, so I was raring to go, and not even a good Avo cigar could make me feel better about episode 2.
Nope, I didn't use a cigar, but I did take like I broke it up into 3. I never have this problem. I actually had to watch it in 3 separate viewings, like of 20 minutes each, because I just couldn't take it anymore. Like I'll write some notes, and I'd curse at the screen, and then I'd walk away. I'd be like, it's not worth being unhappy about.
I know. I had to keep wiping my ears because my brain kept kind of leaking out just a little bit from all the cells that kept dying. It was a rough night. We are going to go through the episode in depth through the 4 different storylines. There's a Khazad-dûm storyline. I named these by their region, essentially. There's a Lindon storyline, there's an Eregion storyline, and a Rhun storyline, which is now introduced a favorite character, apparently, from some people. Don't know why. We'll find out. So, all right, let's add the video to the screen. Where is it? It's right here. Here we go. Okay. And we'll start in Khazad-dûm. And let's make a point again. I want to, before we go into these ones, this episode still, we have not gone back to Numenor at all. None of the Numenor characters, not even Don Lemonless Arendir himself, has made his fade appear. Oh, that sounds funny.
Has made his fade
on the screen yet. So we haven't gotten him. We haven't gotten Theo. We haven't gotten Elendil or Isildur or Muriel or Pharazôn or any of the characters that aren't actually who they are in Tolkien's writing. So next episode, apparently, we will get Numenor.
Well, let me ask you about that real quick. What do you think about the fact that they've chosen to focus on just 3 storylines each time, and they're not doing the jumps to 4 or 5 storylines? Clearly, they're trying to put more time into each one to get us more. Yeah. Do you think it's?
I think it's easier to follow. That's for sure. What they really should have done, though, is completely gotten rid of the Harfoot storyline. It serves no purpose at all. And if they would have done that and had this episode shortened from an hour and 5 minutes to 40 minutes and gotten rid of that, then you have a much tighter show that really feels, because those other 2 storylines do the Lindon and the Eregion storyline, even the Khazad-dûm one, right, they are interconnected. The other one is completely 100% separate.
The not Gandalf and Dirty Little Sociopath storyline is purely a member berry storyline. It's just member hobbits, member Gandalf, member soon to be member Tom Bombadil. No, because we've never shown him on screen. Okay, well we're going to show him, and he's nothing like Tom Bombadil.
Yeah. They and this goes back to an earlier points that we've made. Is the show suffers from going too far afield too many times, and they really need to tighten up the narrative, but they don't have writers who know what it means to tighten up the narrative, because they think making it bigger and better means just simply adding more characters that have Tolkien names in it without actually tying
more member berries. Now they did have some references in here, which I found kind of interesting, because they're deep cut references, like Disa references. Well, she should have said Xeroxigel, not
Xeroxigel,
but she references different, and there are a couple other references. Dairon got a
I never noticed that,
which I really appreciated. Like that's one of the few times I've looked at Rings of Power. I'm like, thank you. That was a cool. That was an actual deep cut reference for.
Yeah, and I'll say Círdan is my favorite elf in the show. I don't think there's I think the actor is good. I think he looks right. I think his writing is still tortured a little bit.
Acts like an elf. He really carries himself with that equanimity that one would have if one were literally thousands of years old. So
yeah. All right. So let's talk about Khazad-dûm and the earthquake from I calculated it probably about 800 miles away. It was Mount Doom from the doors of Moria. So we get an earthquake that shakes Moria. Turn it down a little bit. And but we start off in this marketplace. I was kind of cool with this marketplace. I thought the marketplace looked good. I kind of liked it. It's like, okay,
I think marketplace looks good. I also appreciated, although it was a little bit of the scolding, like the typical going back to the scolding wife and the silly husband motif. But they really do care. The actors, they're presenting a married couple that cares about each other. They really seem to care, and I appreciated it. It was not bad. The whole collapsed shaft thing, and then the problems that ensue, like the dwarves are now starving to death. That I have a problem with.
Again, this goes to that they don't know how to write. If they wanted us to care about this here and make it important, they needed to set that up previously to this event. But they create, like, I don't know if Deus Ex Machina is the right term here, but they create events that we are forced to care about right away from the moment. If they would have said, there's the garden they tend to, and they follow the lights and things like that, and that it's important, right? They could have done that, but they just create an earthquake from Mordor, 800 miles away, and it just collapses the shafts, and some people die on the bridge. That was kind of fun right here. Kaboom! They're not going to be going home anytime.
Dwarves. Yeah. And I like you bringing up the Deus Ex Machina. I was thinking about that myself, and what I have concluded is, technically a Deus Ex Machina is when an unexpected and unlikely or irrational solution element pops up to solve a tangled problem. So you have a problem that a play or a movie or a story is laying out, and it's getting harder and harder to solve, and it doesn't seem like there's a solution. Then all of a sudden, out of the clouds, a god comes and solves it all, or something. That's a Deus Ex Machina trope. So it's this unlikely or highly unlikely solution that just presents itself, and with little work from any of the characters, the situation is resolved. Technically, a Deus Ex Machina is for solving a problem.
Yeah, that's why I didn't really like using this.
So but what this shares, and there's a lot of scenes like this, there's a lot of elements like this in Rings of Power, is that they love throwing things at us that was totally unexpected. Now, at least it had a connection to the eruption of Mount Doom. I like that part. But they just love spectacle. They love it's like the Sauron thing we talked about in the first episode, the Sauron ice explosion. They wanted the spectacle and the idea of freezing a whole land, and so they put it in, and they're like, oh, but there are a bunch of people around him when he blows up into ice. So what's going to happen to them? And their solution was, they will be knocked over with a light dusting of snow on them, and which was stupid. And just like this, they create this spectacle problem, and then we find out later in the show, in this episode, that there's a real problem. The dwarves are starving because these sun shafts have mostly all collapsed. Mm-hmm. The problem I have with this is these are the greatest miners and delvers in Middle Earth, and they made those shafts and they collapsed, right? Okay, so some or most of them collapsed
from a relatively mild earthquake.
Right. So you had some collapse. Okay, the first things they would do is they have tunnels where they mined those shafts from. Maybe some of those are closed off, but not all of them, because they're clearly walking around. They got mining tunnels in different parts. So they would have immediately got to work. Clearing a shaft is not a hard situation. Creating a new shaft, not a difficult situation for dwarves. So this all, but they have to do the singing thing, the stone singers or whatever. And it's just it's contrived. It's a contrived problem. And it just shows us kind of shallowness of depth. But anyway, having said that, I like let's see, Peter Dolan, I think is his name. Is that Durin the Third? The actor that plays Durin the Third. Yeah. I like his acting. I like the actress plays Disa, and the actress Arthur Rhun.
Owain.
Arthur Owain. Yeah. Arthur Owain. And that plays Durin the Fourth. I don't mind this storyline. It's not egregious.
It's just, it's for the parts that we are like, that's not so bad. It's the execution that fails. Because as we go forward in the show, one, we have my favorite line from the show coming up in just a second. I'll play it here. But two, they're starving, but they never show us that they're starving, because the first thing that they show us between Disa and Durin is they're eating dinner.
Right. And they're complaining that it's last year's bread, but they're eating dinner.
Yeah,
exactly.
And no, they don't show us like, oh no, what are we gonna do for dinner? You get Narvi, who he's called a master delver, I think, in here, and and Disa, I guess, she sings to the stones and they collapse. But here, let's listen to this quote. This is my favorite. So tortured metaphors are a thing. I think I have to go through all these episodes of the Rings of Power and find all the tortured metaphors and put together a greatest hits.
Better you than me,
it's
man.
so much. It's so ridiculous. Anyway, okay, so here we go. These are the two. Oh,
this is the songbird metaphor, right?
Yes, dwarfesses. I don't know what you call a female, if there's another name for a female. Dweroettes. To go back to what Tolkien really wanted to call them was dwarves. He created the word dwarves, not dwarfs, but he really in the notes to the Hobbit he said he wanted to call them dweros instead. That is the official name. Okay, so here we go.
Because a room is like a songbird.
There it is.
May sound filling from afar, but up close it's an empty feast.
It may
wait. What was her first part of that line? It's like a songbird. Rumors are like a songbird.
It's an empty feast.
Yeah, let me get that again.
Right before that.
I got it. It's hard to skip forward right here, so just a second. They're gossiping. They're talking about rumors about why the earthquake
blaming Elrond for the earthquake.
Yeah, so hold on. If I keep playing it, they're just gonna ding me here on YouTube, and they'll take the video down. So here we go.
You two wouldn't be trafficking in conjecture, would you?
No. I wouldn't dream of it.
Good. Because a room is like a songbird. May sound filling from afar, but up close it's an empty feast.
Okay, I heard that, and I'm like, when I hear songbirds, my first thought isn't, I'm hungry, and the songbird is gonna eat me up, and it makes no sense. No, there's no bearing on how we think about birds singing in the air, about them being a feast for our stomachs. Is that like really? I had to do a double take on that when I read that. And so again, tortured metaphor. Somebody came up with this in the writer's room, thought it was intelligent. Nobody can identify with this kind of metaphor. I don't know if that's
exactly. I'm thinking like they don't know how metaphors work.
Yeah,
they just said like it's a songbird, and it's look, and then now all of a sudden, what is that a dwarf reaction where when they see songbirds are like, let's eat them?
That's right. They're not out very often. They're like, we haven't seen a turkey. All we see are these songbirds, and oh my gosh, we are so hungry. We went outside. We went outside. We heard songbirds, and our first thought was barbecue. Chicken kebabs on the barbecue. That's what songbirds are. Oh my gosh.
Apparently that's what dwarves do.
All right. So she meets with Durin, or the King Durin, not Prince Durin. And essentially she's there telling him, let's see, is this the point at which no. So Narvi the Delve tells them that the earthquakes collapsed their shaft. So she and I don't know, the Disa chicks, I guess you could say.
The Disa chicks. Ouch.
They go out and they sing, and they're wonderful.
The Green Man reaction.
They're wonderful. There we go. Here it is. Ready? Here we go. Their off-key song. I'm going to force you guys to listen to this. Okay, that's the start.
I would collapse too if I was
if I were singing to stone, then I guess maybe that's what I do. I'd shout more than sing because I like the echo. I don't know. Okay, and what it does is it starts collapsing even more.
I mean, like, in one sense, this is funny because when was anyway, you like,
and they keep doing it.
Disa actually messes up. Like, how often does that happen that we have?
I guess, although they don't really say they messes up. All right. As what they say is that even the rock singers, rock and roll, just occurred to me.
The rock singers.
Oh my gosh.
That's what we're gonna call them.
The Steven Tylers of Moria. Even they've lost they've lost touch with the stone. They no longer feel the bones of the stones in their songs. I don't know. It's like, can I come up with a tortured metaphor? So anyway, so then Durin keeps her back, and she scolds him and tells him, "You better be the bigger man and talk to your son." But he won't, because, he's petty. Like, he's a petulant teenager in that sense too, just like the elves of Lindon.
Everyone's petulant except Disa.
Yeah, she's got the answers. Again, anyway. And then we get to Durin, who is now, I don't know, do you have anything to say about Disa and Durin in there at that point? It's just sort of silly. Like, she's trying to say, you need to do this. And he's like, no, I won't, because I was right.
He says she says it must take so much strength. She's to keep love from coming out of your heart. And he goes, yes, it does. I was like, based. That's right.
That's right.
And the funny thing is, like, I wasn't even thinking based because I agree with the sentiment, but because her framing of it is this classic, like, you've been wronged and you're just being stupid, and because you think that the other person that gave offense should apologize, that's the because Durin the Fourth did give offense. He insulted his father. That's the offense given. His father was making a stupid decision in his mind, and maybe true, but he gave offense, and so he needs to apologize. And that doesn't mean that Durin the Third couldn't circumvent that and bring it about. And that's what Disa wants. But it's the typical, like, scolding of the stupid man who really
honestly
won't let love out of his heart.
Yeah. Well, okay. So then we get to Durin the Younger, who is now relegated to just pounding rocks in some tunnel. Maybe he's there. Hey, could you at least show them, like, maybe, they're working towards opening up the shafts? We don't even know why they're pounding rocks here. Give them a reason for being there.
Well, this is why they're pounding rocks. They're pounding rocks so we can show that Durin's
he's got blisters. Yeah, because
but I will remind everyone that Durin was mining alone with Elrond down in the Mithril Shaft in last season.
I know. I was going to bring that up.
He's
for hours. He was like smoking. He was tired. He was there hammering. The whole thing is he was there hammering rocks with Elrond when Elrond first came too, right? It's not like he's never done it before.
So this idea, this is clearly just another contrivance to show him, like, he's supposed to be like the soft upper class of dwarves, I guess, is what the message we're supposed to take away from this.
Yeah. And what's funny, I think,
is contrivance.
He's bullied, right? And he's like, "Don't touch me, or I'll bite your finger off." And then he's just pushed, and nothing happens. I mean, he's about the weakest dwarf, right? Would he really stand for that if he was the prince, or if he still had any regal? No. Like, he wouldn't just lie there. It's really sad. I don't think these writers know. They don't know what they're doing. This is schoolyard bullying stuff. This is kids pushing each other around. This is what we were saying last episode. We're going to continue to say it because it keeps coming up, which is that they write their characters as if they're petulant teenagers. Yeah. So this is like a schoolyard. You're making fun of the guy that fell from the heights. The teacher's pet, and it's no longer the teacher's pet. Now he's down with the rest of us. And he can't get his hands dirty and sad him, and then we're going to push him around. And then he's just going to take it. Like, they can't write characters above that level, apparently, or at least most of the time. Yeah. I still am of the opinion that there's like probably 8 writers, and there's one guy in there who actually once in a while gets a zinger in there. I still think so, because there is a speech coming up in the other one of the other storylines that I did actually like. I liked a speech from Rings of Power. So then we get Durin talking to Disa over dinner, like we talked about, even though they're starving, but not starving because they have food. And she's like, you need to apologize him. And he literally says, no, because I'm right. Yep. That's his reasoning. I'm right. It just, okay. So anyway, that's where they leave it. They don't apologize. And we go on into another storyline. That storyline that we're going to talk about now is Lindon.
And luckily, we know that it's a Lindon storyline because they tell it to us in that ridiculous font every time.
That's right.
We see Lindon, because we can't possibly have remembered from the previous episode what Lindon looks like.
Right. No, not at all. So Galadriel's dream, or they're not confident at all in their ability to tell a real story, so they just have to write it on the screen. It's the ultimate example of show don't tell. They're literally telling us. Yeah. That it's there. Okay, so we get this dream of Galadriel, or vision, I think. And it's clearly brought on, they imply, by the ring that she's wearing. And it's of Celebrimbor saying the ring verse to her in this dream. and being essentially what I don't know, swallowed up by, like he tells her, Sauron comes in and his sinews come in, blah blah blah, and then you see it coming in, and right here
everything tilts. That's funny is that tilt, which is supposed to show that things aren't real, like the camera tilt. There's a name for it.
Dutch angle.
There you go, the Dutch angle, and so it. Right, yeah, exactly. And so now we know that things aren't real, and so then Sauron comes and traps him against the tree. But that's the crazy part is, they're willing to sacrifice. I mean, it's just member berries again. Remember the ominous Rhun poem recitation? Remember, they just want to. But the crazy part is that where does that come from? First of all, if it's the ring, what's the ring doing there? Like, really, like, what is the ring? And this is part of my problem with this whole show is once you start asking questions about which a normal person would ask, like, what? That ring, like anyone with a cursory knowledge of Tolkien knows that ring verse was created after the creation of the 20 rings. So what is this from? Like, where does this come from?
Yeah. Well, and so that would really imply is that her ring really is connected to Sauron. That the only way she would know that, I hear that in a vision, is somehow.
I agree, Jonathan, but it's stupider than that because her ring is connected to Sauron then, because it's Sauron's poem. That's right. He literally inscribes part of that poem on the inside of it, on the outside rather, of the One Ring. So, which is what is the meme device, the original meaning of the word meme, which lets the mimetic device that Gandalf uses to recite the poem when it all comes out.
Yeah.
But that happened after the creation of the 20 rings, which means that this, like you said, this ring is apparently connected to Sauron, so the rings are evil. So more destruction of the Lord. But B, it means that the ring is evil, but it's giving away Sauron's plan. Like it's telling her that he's going to, like, how does that work exactly? And the answer is it doesn't. The answer is I am sitting here trying to come up with a good reason for a thing that I am now convinced was simply them wanting to insert something, a member berry, remember the ominous ring poem, into the show. Yeah. And they don't actually, there's no good reason for if this ring is evil and really secretly tainted by Sauron and in some ways controlled by him, then it wouldn't give away his plot to create 17 other rings. But if it isn't evil, then what on earth is it doing?
Yeah.
Well,
you know what it's doing is they kind of reveal that next is that apparently it's telling them the future. You caught that, right? They mentioned, are you getting your abilities to be a soothsayer again? She asks of Gil-galad. And I'm like, none of that is the power of the ring. Like her ring Nenya was like for protection, preservation. I think also, doesn't it hide her from Sauron? I want to say. Which is so it's totally wrong that now it's really more connected. So it's the inverse of what the ring should be.
Exactly. Well, that's my problem. Is that Nenya of the three rings? Nenya is the one that that does the hiding, like not just preservation but hiding, which is why they could never find Lothlorien, or if they did, it was that they knew the general region but they couldn't get in. It was like she was on the other side of the Misty Mountains in her realm in the next few thousand years. And Sauron still couldn't. He's in Dol Guldur. He's like a stone's throw away, and he can't find her. So he this is the opposite of what Nenya is supposed to do.
Yeah. So she wakes from her living life open-eyed dream, I guess. Again, refuses to tell Celebrimbor that this has happened, that she has a vision of this at all.
Every single time, like in all these scenes, her reaction, Celebrimbor, not Celebrimbor, you mean Gil-galad?
Gil-galad. Yeah, my bad.
Or Gil. I'm calling him Gil-gadad-bod now because that's basically
that's what he's got.
He acts like a dad to the petulant children, and he's a fat high king, so he's Gil-gadad-bod. so Gil-gadad-bod is calls her on the carpet for wandering off in her thoughts, and her reactions. Her initial reactions are always petulant child. She's like, and by the way, I looked at the Amazon notes. because like, who are these DEI elves? Like, always DEI elves everywhere.
No.
So and it turns out, did you know this, Jonathan? Each of them is a commander of one of the directions of the compass.
Oh my gosh.
She's the commander of the northern armies, and then we have the commander of the east, and commander of the west, and the commander of the south.
It's like,
Holy mackerel! These writers.
Oh man, their military fortitude is impressive.
And also, what the best part is, like, she's daydreaming, and Gil Gadadbog tells her, pay attention. What do you think? And she's like, we should attack up the river Anduin.
And they're like, okay.
And he's like, okay. It's like,
there's no discussion between the commanders.
I don't even run it by my other 3 commanders who are actually engaged in the conversation.
Yeah.
Oh no, well, okay.
No.
I guess we do.
Yeah.
So stupid.
Okay, so he tells her, you're allowed. I should be the one to take Sauron out. You got to let me go. And he's like, well, you're not going. And then essentially, well, if you're going to go, you can't go alone. You got to take another elf with you. There's no way. And so he sends her ultimately to Elrond. And we get to Elrond as he is, sorry, this started again, the details. He's carving an entire trunk of a tree with a small planing device. Did you notice this?
Yes, I did.
I'm like, wait, the tree is here, and they've already carved the entire top of it, but yet the bottom half hasn't been constructed at all. I'm just like, oh, that's not. This is not. There's an axe first where you hack things off, and then you get a large saw planer to pull things down, and then you get a little small, and then you get to the chisel. But no, they don't do that. Anyway, just the details of that bothered me a lot.
Yeah. Okay.
It's
you know what it is, Jonathan? Like, it's like so many other elements of this. I'm just taking the hat off. This is the alternate to Jonathan's hat from the beginning of yesterday's show, if you all remember it. It says something in Elvish, in Tangwar rather, script, which is
same thing. Says
yep.
This. Yeah.
So again, if you like it, buy it from our store.
Yeah, we got it down below. I need to make more merch, but yes. Okay, so she comes and tells him that she needs him, and Elrond says no.
But like so many other elements, it's clear that the people that make this movie have no idea how one would actually not nary a carpenter on this on making the design decisions.
Nary a what? A carpenter?
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean?
You wouldn't carve a prow this way.
Oh, you wouldn't. No, I know. And why is Elrond doing it? What has he built at the ship? Like, why is he making the ships now? What?
He's a politician. He's a
politician.
Ships.
I know he's not a politician shipwright. He's a politician architect. Dang it!
And it's not like I have a problem with the idea. Like, elves often do lots of things because they live so long.
I know,
but the idea that he's just sort of moping around here, randomly carving things, is just silly.
Yeah,
he's moping.
So she gets angry, and he says no, and he tells her, "If you're my friend, you'll leave me." So she leaves him, and then he goes to. That's the whole storyline there.
I didn't want her to leave.
Right. And then he goes to Círdan and he asks, he goes to Círdan, who they felt it was very important that they show us that wait, let me get there. It is.
This is right after it.
So Círdan has no more beard anymore because he's been shaving.
With a seashell.
With a seashell. There it is. And he had a little bit of the barbasol left on his cheek. Oh, now it's gone. I like them better with a beard and a mustache. What's the deal? What the one elf, Michael, that has a beard that Tolkien talked about? What do? They can't even get this right. He freaking shaves it off in the second episode.
Yes. What? It's meant to show. Sorry, I think that he has a ring, so it's changing him. I think that's what we're supposed to figure out, is like he's shifting. Now, one of the things I will say about this scene is this is the one scene where he actually says something to Elrond. He talks to Elrond and he uses logic, and he actually says something that makes sense within the context of the show and Elrond's motivations, which it's crazy for me to say this because it happens so rarely or almost never in this show. What happens in this show is we're told that people have motivations, like, this is my motivation, blah, 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 blah. And then maybe the next scene, maybe a few episodes from now, that motivation will shift, or they'll in the same conversation, like Gil Gadadbod last episode, he was all about reprimanding Galadriel, and then when getting the truth out of her, and then once he gets the truth out of her, all of a sudden he switches to her side, and he's like threatening violence against Elrond for the rings, and so motivations just switch like the wind. They're just there for people to be things to be sensationalist and melodramatic, and it to be a soap opera. This is like a Middle-earth soap opera. And so in this particular discussion, however, he starts with something I found super cool. He makes a Dairon reference to the Dairon is the minstrel in Thingol's land in Beleriand, in the heart of old Middle Earth that we find out in the Silmarillion. Dairon is one of the suitors. He's a minstrel with an unbelievable voice, and he's one of the suitors of Luthien, Tenuvio, and not a great guy. Ends up betraying the Luthien and Baron a little bit, but and
he also brings up Rumiel, who he says was a drunkard, and Rumiel is the one who created the writing system, right? He Tengwar, I believe, were his
exactly. So. And Círdan's point is, Elrond is saying that basically he's implying we need to destroy the rings because there was an evil hand that had an influence in their making. Sauron, and Círdan makes a good point, which is you're going to throw out all beautiful things because the maker was a bad person in some way.
Well, let me tell you exactly what he said, because it's said. I understand what they're trying to say, but it's a little bit tortured again the way that they say it. So the phrase he uses is judge the work and leave judging of those who wrought it to the judge who sees all things.
By the way, that is it like they don't know how to write excellent prose, but that final message is both eminently elvish and it's wise, and he's right. Like if Elrond believes what Elrond believes, which is that the rings are tainted and shouldn't be used, then judge their works and try to convince us, in other words, that we're wrong, and don't judge the people, in other words, us, and reject your friend Galadriel. Don't reject her just because she's using the ring, but try to help her. And he's absolutely right, and it's great. And he also makes a reference to Eru, which is awesome.
He does. Did I miss it?
Yeah,
I missed it. What did he say?
Read your line again.
Oh, that I thought you meant a direct reference. Yes, leave the judging to the judge who sees all things, which is Eru. I thought you meant he actually said the word Eru.
No, he doesn't. But right. That's the only person he can mean.
Exactly,
the one who judges all things.
Right.
And so he's an old and wise elf, and he's not afraid to bring a truth that I think, and it actually makes logical sense. And he sways Elrond, and Elrond's going to go help Galadriel, I presume. I don't know. I haven't seen the next episode.
But before he leaves, we realize that the phrase I used last week, which was Middle Earth Aquaman, is completely true. For apparently the power, whereas the power of Galadriel's ring was to give her visions of death and the ring poem, the power of Círdan's ring is to call fish to him. Like, that's literally, he sticks his hand in the water and look, here come the fishies. Have you ever heard of like tickling for fish? Like,
yes, they dangle the fingers in the water.
Essentially, what he does, they start swarming around him, and that's their power. We saw Sauron, who wasn't devoured by the Leviathan in the ocean, or the sea monster, whatever you want to call it. We saw him talk to the warg, and so his power was infused in Círdan's ring, and Círdan can now talk to the fishes. This is a little lesser. So anyway, this is how they decide to show the power of the ring.
Well, and I agree that bit's a little bit silly. I do like the discussion he's bringing up. So it's what have we got? This is the 10th hour of Rings of Power that I've had to listen to, and I've got what I feel like is the first actual treatment of a complex subject. One subject they're getting into, which is, here's the basic question that he's bringing out. My ring has power over the living things, and he proves it by making a fish flop around, and then he saves the fish. Because I have power over the living thing, does that make it bad? or can I not use the power for good? And that is actually one of the questions, one of the deeper questions, and one that our culture right now is struggling with, because we like there's a philosophy and a certain undercurrent in our culture which believes that having power is wrong, and there's no good use of power. All power corrupts, and that's a thing also that a variety of folks across history in different times and places and of different mindsets and value systems have struggled with, which is, can you have this is embodied in a ring, right? So because this is Tolkien, and well, this is not Tolkien, this is fan fiction, but it's the question of, here's a ring with power over people, and interestingly enough, this is Narya, which will eventually be on Gandalf's hand, and this is the one that has the power to inspire light and kindle the flame in the hearts of people and draw people to Gandalf, which is why Gandalf is so successful in his mission, or part of the reason he uses Narya. It's implied anyway that he uses Narya as a kind of magnifier of his natural effect to bring hope and kindle the hearts of the people around him. And so Círdan's just not quite as far seen as Gandalf, because he kindles hope in the hearts of fish, apparently, instead of humans, the free people.
He draws them out of the water and puts them back in and says, "Look, I saved you. Look at this power that I have of you."
Ta-da! But he brings up that question of, it does power, is the use of power, which reminded me of Boromir. That's Boromir's argument about the One Ring. Now, the One Ring is wholly evil, and the Three Rings are not. Even in the Rings of Power version of the Three Rings, they're tainted. I think we're meant to think that they're tainted, but they're not evil in the way the One Ring's evil, which can only do evil. So it's interesting.
And the other thing that just has bothered me since the beginning, since the first time we saw the Grey Havens, is it's just still so small. There are literally no other people. It's two people talking to each other again. In this scene here at the Grey Havens, we got Elrond talking to Galadriel, and then we got Elrond talking to Círdan. That is it. There's no one else there. Those are the only three people, other than a couple people like in the distance crossing the bridge when the Billy Goat's gruff were there, when Elrond is hiding under it. But there's nobody there. That's that's why they only build small ships, because it's for both of them.
And it's crazy to me, because this is the largest budget in a TV production in human history, and they don't have the money to have it feel like a place that elves live in. And the Grey Havens are these great workshops that create elven ships, and they're the place where all the elven ships go sailing out from, and they've got to be a massive set of docks.
There should be a big harbor. There should be large ships.
Apparently, it's a fishing village with 3 huts. And so
the last scene we get of Galadriel, and sorry, I got to skip this part here. We'll talk about that in a minute. Of Galadriel in Lindon is when she goes to.
Ears are so huge. Oh my gosh, they're horrible. This is like my kids when they do the costumes. They were hobbits and elves one year, Lord of the Rings, and their ears were like that. But this is a massive Amazon production, and their ears look terrible.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so he calls Galadriel to him, and he says, "Hey, you're gonna go to Eregion," and she's like, "Great," and he's like, "And Elrond's leading it," and she's like, "Suck." So essentially, she's been demoted. He put the politician architect above her, even though she's the commander of that one of the compass points. He's to the north. And she's not happy about it, and he's going, and I love it. So do you remember how many elves he's sending? Because she's a commander, and they need to really make sure things happen. 5. He's sending 5 elves.
I remember he said a small company. I didn't remember 5. All right.
5 is what he said. Can we have more elves in an army? Like, if she's supposed to command anybody, or Elrond's supposed to command anybody, just a little bit.
So this is yet another example, inherently unbelievable. Whoever's directing this is utterly inherently unbelievable. You have the High King of the Elves in all of Middle Earth. He's dealing with a situation which is of utmost importance, probably existential, where Sauron has returned, and now Sauron might be messing with Celebrimbor. And so at first, what he does, he sends a single messenger with a single message. And we're going to get to that in a second, because that's ridiculous too. All aspects of that part of the story are ridiculous. Utterly unbelievable.
It was two messengers.
two messengers. You're right. But they were traveling together.
He's increasing it by 150%. He's going to send 5 now. He's going to really
but this is, and he's the High King. I got an idea. How about he was in Austin Field last season? How about you just take your soldiers and you march down there and you have a conversation with Celebrimbor about the most important things in Middle Earth, because that might be worth your time, maybe, right? So how about you go? And but they can't, because they have to have they've written themselves into a corner. We say this so often. They've written themselves into a corner by revealing Sauron before the creation of the other rings. So they have to have a way that Sauron interacts with Celebrimbor, and so they have to make everyone else utterly stupid and act in unrealistic fashion, so that Sauron can have a chance to sit there and be crafty with Celebrimbor. And it's just stupid. It's utterly unbelievable. The whole plot line is unbelievable. But man, do their outfits look cool? They have different outfits each time, and now they look sharp.
Yeah. The kitchen drapes have been doing overtime with these.
There's so many.
They're a little bit better than that.
So many different shades of drapes right now, and that whole leaf pauldron on the shoulder. That's like.
Pretty great.
Someone put some time. I know where the money went in this show.
They put it, the leaf pauldrons. Pauldrons. How do you even pronounce that?
It's pauldrons, yes.
Okay. All right. So that's essentially the end of the story of Lindon, Galadriel, Gil-galad, Elrond, Círdan in this episode. So let's move on into our favorite dirty little sociopaths in Rhun. However, Michael, there are more people in Rhun than just not Gandalf and the DLSs, because we've come across a new character, the mysterious, powerful wizard. Right there. All right. There we go. And again, we were told in Karis Geyer. I've never know what that is, and they're cool beehive
invented buildings. Karis Geyer.
Yeah.
And by the way, apparently this is some great dwelling. I mean, look at that construction.
Is it? Is it big?
It's big.
I thought it was small, actually. I guess there are huge steps here. Yeah, no, I thought it was like, this is the door was like half the size of the thing. Oh, it was relatively small. Okay, never mind. No, there are people that are pretty tiny here. Huh. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, these are, but they look like massive lumps, lumps, like rough-hewn lumps, like I used to make.
Slam it down and sort of shape it with and then dig a hole in it. Yeah,
like a giant had just taken it and shaped it with his hands and then left it.
Yeah. Okay. So what we get from this scene is the first character that probably they could have made into a diverse character if they really wanted to, because he's from a completely separate land, but they picked they picked a super.
I mean, did you not notice
in Kieran
how many white people that it's all? I know they're all this whole land is populated by white people.
The choice they had to make was to make this believable, to make the details matter, to have different peoples and different people groups in sealed geographic areas where you did not travel far beyond those relatively much. And so you would have a people group that looked very similar, and that makes things believable. And so you give this people this look and this people that look and this people that can be totally 100% okay. It would have even been okay if they would have made like all the dwarves Asian. They could have done that, and it would have been more believable than what they have done, which is just throw diversity as a seasoning onto everything, and it doesn't matter. So the one choice they had here in Rhun, where it really makes sense, they made the wrong choice.
Right. Every gathering of all of the elves, for example, looks like you're in Times Square in New York City.
Yeah. You're on the subway somewhere catching the bus.
Right. Except I might point out that it's quite racist, apparently, of Rings of Power to do this, because there's so many diverse elves, and yet the rulers are all
white. Well,
ooh,
you're not allowed.
I don't know. Shame, Amazon. Shame.
Well, they met the quota that the Emmys demands, and so they
can win their awards. Yep. All right. So back to white people land.
So Slim Lady, or Slim, mildly androgynous acolyte, comes back through a grand cavalcade of moths. This scene took forever for the person to
Oh my gosh, they were so proud of their special effects. This was like 5 minutes for them to.
I was like, really? That's it. That's what we got in about, I think, 40 seconds of the moths flying around.
Yeah, it felt like 5 minutes.
And
it's Feminem. Yes,
Feminem, Slim Lady, mildly androgynous acolyte. All the names are so good for this person.
Yeah, kudos to the internet for that. Maybe it was Nerdrotic. I can't remember who came up with the name Feminem, but it was awesome.
Yeah, I'm sure some of them did. And so they report that Sauron is back, and she reports that wasn't able to take out the Istar. But you know who comes by? A tracker. The unannounced tracker happens to appear at the same time, and he's got a plan to get the Istar. And he asks him, well, why would I be concerned? How are you going to get him if my most powerful acolyte can't do it? And he says, because I'm going to threaten him. I mean, that's essentially it. That was his big strategy. Because I'm going to
writes this crap.
And the smile that the wizard has, he's
exactly. The wizard's like totally satisfied. It's almost like Celebrimbor last season. Like, alloys, you've just given me this. Who would have thunk about alloys? Oh, you're going to threaten them. Oh,
impressive.
Genius.
I would never have thought of that. I know.
Genius.
So, and so what that does again, it creates like their Deus Ex Machina is it's throwing in like we have a problem, and that's there's not enough tension. We need to throw more tension into this. How are we going to do this? Here's just this thing that we throw into it, which is these trackers now we didn't know anything about, who apparently have some sort of skin problem. They're horribly, I don't know, they have psoriasis of the body, and and he will take it away if they capture the Istar, which first, again,
How did he know about the Istar?
Why would they use that word? That is a Quenya word that means wise one. Yeah. So for them to use that is completely out of character. They should never be using the Istar. It should be something completely different. I don't know if there is a runic word for it, but that would be it. And so he says he's going to go get them, and then we get up on Nori and Poppy Dopolis and Dodric. Now that was the name. They're trying to come up with names for him.
Fredegar.
Fredegar. Did they really say Fredegar?
They did.
I must have been taking a puff at the time.
It was the second suggestion was Fredegar. So they're doing the member berries for the. I mean, there are some member berries like Dairon and Rumiel and Fredegar.
I like those. Yeah, that's nice.
They're throwing in just for the real fans, because nobody who isn't a book fan is going to know, and especially not even a Silmarillion fan, but a book fan would know Fredegar, or as he's called frequently, Fatty Bulger, the sadly left.
No, the body positive hobbit. That's who it is.
That's right, body positive Bulger, and who's left behind in the book to face the Nazgul alone.
Okay, so they're here. They have to. Poppy says we're going to go across the desert, and then they decide that they won't, and then they decide that they will because they're being tracked. So why do they make that little diversion into prosaic nothingness? I don't know. The narrative doesn't matter. And so they're sitting here, and they realize
so tired of this whole.
They are being tracked, and okay, so let's see. They hide really fast, which was fine. The scene, right? They're trying to hide from them, and he's going to go hide somewhere. He just goes behind some bushes. So then these trackers come in, and these trackers are so awesome that they can be right in front of a hobbit blanket and completely miss them. They can be staring
literally 2 feet away or 3 feet away. Watch, they kill the snake. Then he comes down and he stares at that netting, which was clearly tent netting,
and then walks away and says, "They're still close."
Like I can see them in this shot. Like there they are.
There's the netting. Yeah. Right. Let me make it bigger. Right here on the right hand side. There's that netting. He's like, "There's a netting covering a cave." Nah, I'm a great tracker. I would notice it if there was something there. Why would I ever look under that? My tracking abilities are second to none, so why look under the blankie? So anyway, okay, that's the end of this scene with the dirty little sociopaths. Let's skip forward to, 39 minutes right about here. Okay, so they need water, and he collapses, so Poppy magically somehow finds a well, looks off in the distance. Again, a Deus Ex Machina. Oh, look, we need water. There's a well. Why did we go this way? I don't know. And what's even better is the well has a bell. It's a bell well. It's a bell weller. Bell drummer? Bell, I don't know. There's something like that. But they get water for him, and then this bell, as they drop the water, it's, hold on, wait, let's see here.
Yeah.
Is it playing here? It's so, okay. She's going there. Good thing too that this well is perfectly hobbit sized. It's not too tall for them. It comes up to their waist, but they're hobbits and stuff. So she goes. There it is. Hear that bell?
Yep.
Why would is this something? Michael, you study medieval history. How many bell wells have you seen in your time of studying medieval history?
Never, I mean, I'm not familiar with this.
So the whole point of the bell well is to tell the trackers, the important trackers who couldn't see them behind a blanket. So what do? We ring the bell. Oh, you know what it reminds me of now? Assassin's Creed. The bad guys would ring the bell when you're like in the little camp and stuff. When you're trying to hide and they'd see you. And you're like, oh no, go ring the bell. So anyway, so they ring this bell. The bad guys come. I mean, really, there's nothing of consequence that happens here in interactions between them. They just thirsty. These are the
time wasting.
They're the worst archers that I've seen.
Yeah, here they come.
And they miss them. They have maybe. But first of all, again, so remember, he said he was coming to threaten the hobbits, and that's how he was going to get Gandalf.
Right.
But he never threatens the freaking hobbits because they just start shooting arrows. You're going to kill them if you shoot arrows. Why would you do this if you're going to threaten the hobbits?
Luckily, they're stormtroopers, so these are the early stormtroopers.
So look at it. Wait. Did you see that person like throw? Let me see if I can go back a little bit. That little toss right here. Okay, here we go. Ready? They're going to come. They're going to come assault them. Here they come. Watch. Let me zoom in. Watch the impressive.
Is it an atlatl? Are they using atlatls? What are they actually shooting with?
I don't know, but look, there's a right here. Let's see, right. Okay, is that what they're doing? What are they throwing? What are
those are atlatls. They're little javelins.
Okay. Yeah, so they're not. So they're bad aim with that too. So okay, so they're in trouble. Oh, we forgot. He found a staff, Michael. He found a random staff right there, lying on the ground.
Someone just left a staff
because they need.
I mean, this is actually the closest thing. This is the closest thing to a true Deus Ex Machina, right?
Yeah, it totally.
He needs a staff. It's not the right staff because it ends up disintegrating in the
tornado.
Summoning a tornado.
Yeah.
But it just appears like there's no reason that anyone would leave a staff there. There's just a staff on the ground, and he needs it. So
it's the shepherds who came here, they accidentally forgot their staff.
So this is the latest, dumbest. I'm just gonna start calling him dumbest Ex Machina because that's
there you go. So he summons a volcano. Sorry.
Might as well.
Oopsie. Summons a tornado.
Dust
Devil. The Dust Devil. And I was so excited. So you can see it disintegrating. The poppies and the Noris, they hang on for dear life. But thankfully
they fail.
Michael, they fail and they are ripped away to their deaths. I'm sure they'll die. I'm sure they will not survive this massive tornado.
They shouldn't. They should be ripped up into the air and dropped hundreds of feet and die. And I was so happy when this happened. I was like, maybe, no.
Yeah. And okay, I love that the wooden staff is being ripped away by the tornado, and yet his body is completely fine, as are the hobbits.
Right.
I don't understand exactly why that's happening.
Well, I mean, you could look. Someone can make an argument that it's the magic is channeled through the staff, and so the magic is destroying the staff. It's the wrong staff. He's going to find his real staff at some point.
I guess. I hate it.
I do too. I mean, there's a fan fiction, not fan fiction, internet theory that this is actually Saruman and not Gandalf. I mean, I don't think this is true because he's quoted Gandalf too many times.
Yeah.
But that he's going to defeat the Dark Wizard and take his staff, and that's why the Dark Wizard's staff looks like Saruman's, somewhat. But anyway.
Yeah. All right. So the Harfeets, the dirty little sociopaths, are tossed off. Man, I'm just waiting. Come on. I have to pause it every once in a while. We'll get copyrighted here. And
you just jump past it. They're gone. That's the end of the scene.
Good. It's so good. Please. They're so close. Look, they're dead, Michael. They're gone forever. Oh my gosh, they're gone.
If only we're that lucky. Look, they're being thrown hundreds of feet into the air. They're being ripped up and sucked up. They're going to be like 30 feet up right now, and they're just keep going up. They disappear.
Dude, I was so happy.
They're dead. They are dead.
I made this.
There's no way they survive
on my computer. This is now my wallpaper picture. I made it. It just brings me joy every morning when I wake up and start working.
They should just take a lesson from Sadok and just off themselves.
Yeah, right. Oh man. Okay, guys, we're on to the last final important storyline, which is the Eregion storyline. That starts with Halbrand is still sitting there waiting with his horsey in Eregion, hanging around, making sure that everybody knows I'm still here. And so Celebrimbor sends his girl in order to tell him go leave, and he doesn't.
It's at Meridian or Meridian or something like that.
What is it?
What is that?
Name is.
Amazon tells us her name. Merdania. That's what it is.
Merdania. Okay, so she says he's not leaving, and he says, "Okay, he will eventually. Let's just ignore him." And that's the scene. Oh, here. Okay, yes, there. The I didn't realize it was at this point that they showed the messengers have been killed.
Okay, and this is stupid thing number 18. Within the 2 episodes, who are they killed by? How does anyone know? Okay, Adar doesn't know that there's any messengers going. Sauron doesn't know. He doesn't know that Galadriel has gone and to Gil-galad in Lindon. He doesn't. There's no way for him to know, and so he was. And first of all, and second of all, like there. What does he have? The entire road between Lindon and Austin Afiel like covered with an army, like to catch the one messenger that's coming from between there. It's so
Michael,
stupid.
How dare you? There are 2 messengers.
So, whatever. so I mean, do you clearly the person that came up with this idea thinks we're all idiots?
Yeah.
Because there's no way there's no way that anyone could have known that there were elves coming or where they were or who to watch for or anything like that. How do they know that they're the messengers? Like they just kill everybody between the 2 cities that travels between. Yeah. So if they do that, then guess what would have happened? People would know that, and then Gil-galad would take his army and march down there, and they wouldn't be able to defeat an army, and then he would have a conversation with Celebrimbor, and then look, Sauron's here. So
let me ask you a quick question. Do you think they will explain this ever in the show? Do you think they'll explain who killed them? Like if you
No, I don't. I
don't think so either. I think the only reason this is here is because it had to happen. Again, they had to have this happen. Without this, Sauron would be out of Austin.
It's all part of the grand contrivance. The stupidity that they did by having him craft the 3 rings first and then be revealed as Sauron before he crafted any of the other rings. Because that's all. Everything here is because of that. And all the stupidity is because of that. It's just a stupid plot device after stupid plot device. This moment, kind of cool. I actually like this. The crafting of Athildin, the moon letters.
Crafting is a generous word. Again, we never see him craft anything. He either drops stuff into fire or he grabs stuff out of liquid.
Whatever.
The whole in between is gone.
The Elvish apprentice union that does the work that he won't do crafted this in the background while he was out trying on a new set of drapes. And the burgundy drapes this time instead of the green drapes. And so all right, fine. But the creation
of cool. Moonlight. It's the same stuff that with the doors of Durin, right? When the moonlight hits it, then you get it to light up. Okay, I was fine with that. It's just his little smug smile, like, oh, look at me, I'm so good. It just drives me a little bit bananas. He's probably my least. Well, no, Galadriel's my least favorite elf, but he's pretty high up there. Celebrimbor then goes to Halbrand because he realizes as he's standing up there after looking at the moon letters, he's still there. And then Celebrimbor is manipulated by Sauron, essentially telling him like, "Oh, you haven't talked to Galadriel? Well, I have. And wouldn't you know that Galadriel? You haven't heard the rings worked. Haven't you heard what's happened? How would he know the rings worked? I guess because he's the one that helped create them, which again is not exactly what happened in Tolkien's world because they were just
I mean, look. By the stupid contrivance of this world, the invasion of the upside down black tentacles is supposed to be linked to Sauron. We're told that in the beginning. By the way, worst umbrella ever. Like he walks out with the umbrella and then he gets there and he's completely soaked. He's soaked afterwards where he's talking to, like, look, if you look at this, you zoom in on this, he's totally soaked. He's got an umbrella over him and see Sauron is soaked, which is to be expected. And
yeah, he is too. You're right.
Soaked. Everyone's so anyway.
So suffice it, yes.
Can't design umbrellas.
Suffice it to say, Halbrand makes his way up then into the chambers. He's welcomed by Celebrimbor because Celebrimbor's like so happy that the rings work, and he almost cries. I think he cries a little.
He does cry. He does cry.
That he's finally created something. Now, we've never seen him actually create anything in the show before.
Nope.
So we're not that impressed by it.
I'm not convinced. I think it's the Elvish Apprentice Guild
Union. Well, you know why the guild, the Union Guild is there. It's because they need to be established to
take all the jobs for the Numenorians, of course.
That's exactly right.
They're preparing to seize the jobs from the Numenorians.
And they communicate.
The Elvish Apprentice Union is the true antagonist of this story.
Oh my god!
They probably set Celebrimbor up for failure. They're probably really working with Sauron.
The show brings me so much joy in a weird way.
Yes.
Okay, so then we have the first apparently man friendship, the real bros right here. He's like,
is it a Hal bromance?
Hal bromance. He literally asks him, Celebrimbor, are you my friend? Are you? So they have no idea that this sounds dumb. That's what I love about the writers. They have no idea. He's like, no, I know you're not my friend. We spent one day together. I don't know anything about you. We're not friends at all, stupid freaking Halbrand. No,
you embarrassed me by pointing out I didn't know what an Alloway was. I hate you.
Oh man! And then Celebrimbor answered. No, Halbrand says to him, "I could never hide anything from you." As if they have some sort of deep love for each other already. No, the only thing is the rings. So what's funny is that really what he's saying is that we're friends because I helped you create the rings, and the thing you created was really something I did. So you really didn't create anything, Celebrimbor. No. It was me, Halbrand. And because he couldn't reveal Halbro, sorry. The Halbromance here is real, and since he can't keep anything from him, he decides to reveal himself. I'm skipping forward here.
Thank you.
Boy, that's a lot of back and forth. Again, one-on-one conversation just between two people. Okay, let's talk about this. So they're talking about, he's like, I'm going to reveal myself, and who are you really? And he turns around and he's gone.
What? I'm really a hobbit. I haven't been told you all along I'm a hobbit.
No. Harfoot. Can't say hobbit. He's gone, which begs the question, and he is able to transform himself without turning into sticky spaghetti goo. Why was he taking a horse if he can just disappear? Why was he traveling from place to place and what? So he has powers, but he simply never uses them?
Jonathan?
Am I thinking too hard? Should I just
sit down for the night? Hey, shut up. Don't ask these questions.
Okay, sorry. So he appears through the fiery flames, as a lot of people have been saying, Anatar Jesus, because like that shot.
There it is.
It looks like a Renaissance painting. It
looks like AI art of a Renaissance painting.
But there you go. That is exactly what it looks like. And he comes as the
probably how it was made.
Does he say the sharer of gifts? Is that what he calls himself first? And then Celebrimbor corrects him and says, "Oh no, that's the Lord of Gifts."
He says Anatar, and then Celebrimbor says Lord of Gifts.
Yeah, Celebrimbor says Lord of Gifts. So what was interesting to me in this final scene, and I honestly, his reveal, I didn't have a huge problem with it, in the sense that, okay, you're like if they would have taken some focused time in establishing Halbrand as a character that we didn't know was Sauron at the time, that was perhaps part of the Union Guild of Elves at the time or something like that, that he was gaining trust, that he was establishing a long-term relationship with these other elven smiths. And then finally, after some time, he decides the time is right because he has gained all their trust, and he doesn't have to ask, "Are you my friend?" He knows that he's a part of the community there, and he does reveal himself as Anatar, as something more than he is. I would have been okay with that, even though that's not what Tolkien wrote, and Anatar was simply there as Anatar from the beginning. Right. There was no Halbrand. However, when Celebrimbor says to him, when he kneels to him and says, he asks him, "Why are you kneeling?" Halbrand asks Celebrimbor, "Why are you kneeling?" Man, my brain is starting to fry here. And he says, "But I have beheld your natural form," which he hasn't actually, because as we learn in the Silmarillion, they take on bodies as raiments that best match their personalities, that best match their disposition. And so you get male and you get female. So this should, he's obviously putting on a fake form of sorts, but he can do this now. So he changes his hair, he changes his ears. He's no longer, right? He is not a mortal, not a mortal. And he doesn't have to do it with flying spaghetti monster, black flying spaghetti monster goop, which is exactly my point earlier. This is how perhaps a Maya would regenerate of sorts. It would be a little bit more cosmic, a little bit more supernatural. But they've written themselves into a corner by saying this is the way he does it this time. No, this is the way he does it this time. So nothing really matters. He doesn't have a process. He has nothing. Right. He can do whatever he wants.
Yeah, and changing shape as a Maya, a non incarnated not Maya, because there's a difference. The Ishtar, we're muddling things up because by putting Gandalf in at the same time that there's a Sauron in the form of Vanatar, but which they were thousands of years apart. But
yeah,
the change in the shape, I don't disagree with you. It's different from the death, right? That was my point last time was about Sauron not actually being able to die. I think I saw a comment in the YouTube that someone was asking, is this really the way it works? Because I had mentioned that when we did the previous video that one of the major problems I have with Sauron coming back from the dead, as Rings of Power has put it, is that he that was one of the major reasons he crafted the One Ring was so that he could come back to Middle Earth and reform his body as long as One Ring wasn't destroyed. And of course, obviously, One Ring hasn't been created. But the person, the YouTube commenter was quoting what you just quoted about the raiment, about the Valar and probably Maiar too, putting on raiment, bodies like raiment. And so wouldn't he be able to do that if one body was destroyed? It's like getting your clothes destroyed. And so you would just be able to reform another body.
Yeah.
But the problem with that is that isn't actually the way it works once you've been evil for long enough. And it also isn't the way it works with the Ishtar. And that's clear because Gandalf dies and Eru has to bring him back for that to happen.
Right.
Saruman dies and Saruman isn't able to reform himself. So Maiar aren't, generally speaking, just able to do that in Middle-earth. And definitely we're told that, for example, they become, the more of their power they expend, Morgoth in specific, the more they're tied to their body. So there's no evidence that Sauron would have been able to bring himself back from the dead without the One Ring.
Now, the one time he kind of, I mean, what would you say about he's killed on Numenor and his spirit?
The One Ring exists.
Oh, you're right. The One Ring exists.
And there's a funny problem with that, which Tolkien talks about.
The Rings of Power has totally screwed my mind.
Yeah,
you're right.
So he's forged the One Ring by that point. So he can reform. And someone actually asked him a question about that, and he answered in a briefly in one part of a letter. Someone said, "How did Sauron get the One Ring after his body was destroyed in the cataclysm and the sinking of Numenor? So how did he get his body, the One Ring, back to Middle Earth? Because One Ring's in the middle of the ocean, right? And his body has to reform." And his answer was very brief and simple. He says, basically, I'm going to paraphrase a little bit. He said, basically, there's no problem thinking about Sauron's spirit being able to carry his ring back to Middle Earth with him, which means that for Tolkien, and I mean, spiritual things can move physical things. Mm-hmm. So the fact that there's a spirit, I mean, there's spiritual flesh of a sort with the ring wraiths, but there's also other examples of people without bodies being able to move things in the physical world. And so So it wasn't a problem for Tolkien to move for Sauron to move the ring back to Mordor, but he had the ring. That was my point. Was that he can't come back from the dead without the ring.
Without the ring, yeah.
But Rings of Power just completely destroyed that piece of lore.
Yeah. And that's pretty much it. He's there now to help. Oh, and then the last scene is, I think we failed to mention it, is Celebrimbor calls for the dwarves to come to Eregion to, I guess, help craft the rings.
Right.
And that's episode 2, Michael.
Exciting.
What's your? Oh, you know what my big takeaway is what I learned is that the most important part that's probably coming up in the next episode is going to be the guild union of elves, of elvish smiths, coming to take the jobs of the Numenorians. It's going to be happening. Every time
it's the EAU. Please use their proper acronym. The Elvish Apprentice Union.
The EAU is coming to there. And the other thing that I'm going to learn is that once Celebrimbor summons the dwarves, he also should be sending out a warning to all the elves to put away their songbirds.
I shouldn't have been drinking when you said that. Oh my gosh!
Because they're just gonna, the stomachs start rumbling. It's going to sound really tasty from ways off. And
dwarves are going to be working at the forges, and the elves are going to be enjoying their songbirds. And all of a sudden, squawk, and then there'll be no more songbirds.
They're like, and they're going to eat it.
It was lunch break, man.
It's just not so filling.
Oh my god,
guys! Michael, I appreciate this show so much because I laugh more at this show than any comedy series I have watched in years.
More laughter. More
laughter is good. Guys, I hope you enjoyed that. We're going to be doing episode 3 at some point this week. This is recorded on a late Saturday night, and we are going to be trying to do this on a Monday, probably, what is that, Labor Day? And then
truly be labor. So,
and I knew this was going to be a problem because you don't release 3 bad episodes on the same day for us to do. This has been very difficult for me. And I have to watch episode 3 now tonight. Still, I know it's we have another day, but I probably will end up doing it anyway.
Well, I think our reviews were, as our listeners know, we're rather long-winded, but we're going more into depth at each episode than most of the reviews that I've seen. So
yeah, for sure. I hope you appreciated that. You don't have to watch it because we'll bear the pain for you with a large helping of good laughter. All right, guys, look, I want to make some more merch. If anybody can come up with a great Elvis Apprentice Union shirt, that I will put it up there, and you can have all the profits from it. I don't care. That would just be freaking awesome.
You know what we should do? We should just
cool.
have the Tangwar letters that just say EAU, and then underneath in Tangwar, it should say something like, but in Tangwar, it's small. The fine print script should be taking human jobs since the Second Age. Taking jobs from the lesser races since the Second Age.
EAU. Oh man, the Rings of Power. So much joy. Much joy. Just like something else.
Just like a political campaign I hear a lot about recently.
It's all about the joy, this show. Even though they don't mean to, just like that political campagn.
I mean, look, they did give me, this show gave me a lot of joy. I'm so joyful. I'm sure it'll be wrecked the next episode or the one after when the DLSs come back, but they gave me great joy to see them ripped away and thrown hundreds of feet in the air by a tornado. That was fun.
That was fun. That was super fun. All right, well, I'm going to rip away and watch this next episode now. I have another cigar planned for tonight because I'm not doing it without it, man. 2 nights in a row.
A lot of cigars that we sacrificed on the altar of Rings of Power.
All right, until the next time, everybody. Hey, yeah, and give us a like, a subscribe, and follow our podcast, Exploring Tolkien, if you haven't heard it yet. That's pretty good. We enjoy it.
Take care, freeloaders.
Bye-bye.